Okay, welcome to episode 2 of the Lowdown with Tony Lowe. And it is April 10th,
Yeah.
2020, in the middle of a global pandemic. And I am joined by a guest that everyone is going to appreciate. This is Nick Canada. Do you say Canada? It's not Canada.
No. Coming up through high school, though, the teacher
Yeah.
was always afraid to offend me. So they would always say Canada.
Oh, that was offensive?
Day.
Dang, I already offended my guest.
No. They were trying not to offend me. But no, it's Canada, just how it says.
Great. So Nick Canada is a PhD student at Bowling Green State University, but he also teaches film studies, yes, and his research is mostly. Why don't you tell me you're interested? I know you're into horror films and cinematography, and what else? Keep going.
Yeah, pretty much any art cinema, any independent cinema, distribution stuff.
So you like the weird sideways stuff.
I like the weird sideways stuff. Yeah.
All right.
I like the blockbuster stuff. Okay, that's what gets us into this. I mean, the idea is us professors and teaching assistants and everything. We're just big fans.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always said you'll meet professors who, when you ask them, like, "Hey, did you see this over the weekend?" and they start saying, "No, I don't go to the movies much." For me, if it ever comes to that point, I need to get out of this line of work.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad thing.
Yeah, because they say they go to the movies with their grandkids or whatever, and it just feels like work. I'm like, oh, that's no fun.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. But hey, before we were coming on here, we're talking about diet. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of indie and art cinema is kind of like your lean steaks and your salads.
Oh.
And your Michael Bay and your Avengers stuff is your ice cream, and your cheeseburgers. And
I gotcha. Okay, I see that. I gotcha.
Yeah.
We should keep that alive. We should keep. We will do some parallels.
Yeah.
So you have. You're kind of a in-demand guy right now because everybody's looking for stuff to watch and what to stream. I got some Instagram questions from some people for you. But first off, I want to know what's on your mind and what are you thinking? Like, we're all, I guess, just what are you seeing as the trends, the state of things, or anything you want to tell us, man? We need to be entertained. What do we do with this time we have?
I'm sure that people probably don't want to hear about COVID-19, but the grim reality is that it's literally dictating everything. And I talked about distribution, and we'll talk about how COVID is definitely going to be putting a hurting on the market, not just right now, but for the next calendar year.
Because people can't produce films? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's the distribution that we're looking at, and typically Marvel. Disney is really getting hurt by this right now. There's a lot of opinions out there that productions from DC Comics and stuff like that, and even the new James Bond film, they're thinking can probably survive if they just put it on Amazon and charge people $20. Disney productions are a little more complex, so we'll see how that. Pretty much what it is Black Widow was the next comic book film coming out for the Phase 4 of Marvels, and that was supposed to come out this spring, but pretty much because of this. Disney has not announced any plans to put those films on Amazon or online for people to just buy and watch on the couch. So pretty much what they did is they are pushing everything back by slots. So we were supposed to get, I think, another film in the fall for Marvel Phase 4, but Black Widow has been pushed back to that. And so the film that was in that spot took the next film spot, et cetera, all the way up until May 2022. And the only film that hasn't been harmed by that from Disney Studios is the next Black Panther film. But because that was so far in advance, it's pretty much not going to be touched.
Okay. By the way, I'm not sure what would cause it, but on my end, I'm hearing the audio kind of get louder and quieter. Am I making that up? I don't know.
You're not making that up. If I cut out or something, just ask me to reiterate. It's fine. This actually happened during a meeting the other day. My apologies. I don't know what it is.
Well, you sound great now.
Thank you.
Well, okay. So what are some picks? Unless you want to keep going down the distribution talk. Don't say Tiger King because we already watched it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely some stories about Tiger King. I watched it too. So it's my people, the Southeasterners.
For sure.
Yeah. So it reminded me of home, really. But uh, with distribution comes consumption.
Okay.
And the one thing I would personally suggest against is NPR did a study, um, or cited a study rather, and they released it in January. During times of global pandemics, um, films about pandemics, contagions, deadly diseases, people would think that's the last thing they want to see. It actually spikes tremendously.
I see. Okay, so that's trending on Netflix. They try to recommend to me Outbreak and stuff. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
no, there's no chance in hell.
yeah,
Why do you
yeah.
do that? Why do people want to see that? What's wrong with people?
So I feel victim of that. The two films that are trending the most I saw was Outbreak on net because of its exposure on Netflix, and the other one is Soderbergh's Contagion.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm out.
Well, I admit because I saw Outbreak when I was a kid, I saw Outbreak and I laughed. I thought it was really funny. It was I don't know. It's kind of I didn't think too much about it. Contagion was a little different. Soderbergh's a great director, but yeah, and they use a lot of the vernacular we're hearing now on the media, right? Like incubation period, mortality rate, stuff like that. Contagion is actually a film I would not recommend people watch right now. And it's even a similar type of disease. And spoiler, it also came from a bat in the film, so it's really not something I'd recommend for viewers.
Well, just not that long ago, I was in a, I was studying, microbiology. I was in a lab playing with these exact contagions, coronavirus, not the novel coronavirus, coronaviruses, etc. Just can't escape this stuff, man. I'm done with that phase of my life.
I know. Even sports, it's like I just want to watch basketball and not think of it. Oh wait, there's no basketball.
Right. Okay, so let's start here. What are what are some okay, I'll share with you some things that people mentioned to me that they wanted to know about. Okay, can we do that? So somebody wanted to know, there's a couple different, I'm seeing a few different schools of thought, and it plays out just like the movies that the way people's tastes play out. So someone wanted to know, okay, I now have time to see all the great classic cinema that I've never dialed into, right? There's those people. They want advice. Then there's folks who are stuck at home with their significant other or their family.
Right.
And they have that like fancy taste.
Mhm.
They want that indie film. They want that subtitled special movie
Sure.
from the depths of the Russian film renaissance. I don't know, I'm making that up. But they want to know how they can get over the hump with their significant other. How do I get so and so to understand and watch this with me? Or how do I get past subtitles on movies or whatever? And then finally, there's people like me who have enough drama in our life. We just want some good old, just entertain me, man. Let's get it out. What are some top, just good old fun times? Fire up a movie, and you can go TV streaming, whatever you want.
Well, let's start with the how do I get my significant other? Because my girlfriend, she's hit and miss with a lot of indie art house stuff. I mean, some stuff she's like, great, we should see more of this other stuff. It's like, eh. I mean, the truth is, I mean, there are movies out there that are in my subjectively brilliant, but objectively kind of boring.
Uh oh.
You know, the American Friend, Them Vendors. I mean, the substance of the film is very brilliant, but it's 2.5 hours, and it's a bit of a snooze, man. I will say, if you want to help people get over a hump, though, like because they're going to lose interest or lose focus,
Right.
I think there's a lot of merit in watching films episodically.
You mean okay?
Like breaking it up, you know?
Oh yeah, like that's the beauty of streaming. You watch a little bit,
Yeah.
you watch a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a physical media guy. I got a couple films right here. I guess we can talk about soon. But I mean, even okay. So, did you ever see The Irishman, Scorsese,
Yeah,
Netflix?
sure.
All right. So which I really liked it. I felt like it was a Scorsese's greatest hits record, but there's a lot of um, references I think that go undetected. But the thing is, people complained that the film was just too long, 3.5 hours.
Huh.
On the surface, you might say, okay, fair enough. But then it's like the same people are like, but I binge watched Tiger King in like a day. And you're
Right.
just like, that's even longer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's funny, isn't it? That's a true
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah.
The beauty of streaming, man, you can really divide the things up. Can I give you my hot take on The Irishman?
Oh, yeah, please.
Dude, I was mad because of those comments about Marvel. Uh, and
Okay.
and so he was saying, Scorsese was saying that they were formulaic,
Mm,
and then he dishes out the Scorsese formula with the
yeah. It's
he's
very
so
recognizable.
look, he's so formulaic that rather than find a new cast, he would rather go and digitally alter the cast he's been using for these movies forever to look like they're the age of the characters. And guess what? This guy, who is a personal trainer also, knows the difference between an 80-year-old guy in a fight, what he's moving like, versus this. I mean, get a stunt double and make him look like De Niro punching a guy. Ridiculous.
So last summer, there was an interview with the A24 podcast, which I really recommend for film lovers. Yes.
Okay. Notice I have a variety of beverages. This is great. I've got
What's in the
tea.
other one? That one's water. What's the other one?
Well, this is water. This is I guess it's like a some sort of blueberry infused tea. But I don't know. It's got a blueberry. I have an assortment, like a thing with a bunch of tea, and I don't even always know which one I grabbed.
Being from the South, I have to make sure there's no sweet tea in my house because all that's getting drank.
Getting drank.
Yeah, getting drank. Um, but Scorsese was aware of this. When he was in the post-production phase, he was saying age is not just an appearance. It's not just a state of being. It's also a movement. And we kind of see this is before The Irishman got released the following fall, but you see that's kind of a confession
Well, yeah,
because,
it's
yeah,
like it doesn't forgive the crime that you knew it was a crime.
yeah,
It's
like
an
when he's,
artistic crime.
say what?
It's an artistic crime, and he knew he
Yeah.
was doing it.
Well, even, the scene, remember the scene where De Niro, Frank is, his daughter, somebody said something embarrassing to his daughter out in public, and he tracks the guy down and stomps him.
Yeah, he stomps on him like an 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
He can barely pick up his leg, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and he had to personally convince Joe Pesci to come out of retirement to do this film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these guys know better. So give me some good stuff, man. What's some recommendations? And and you were saying how do I get? Oh, you said episodic. So
Yeah.
cut those. Watch Lawrence of Arabia in 10 installments.
Yeah. I mean, it's 30 minutes, 1 hour, and some people don't have the patience for that, but I think if you're really trying to get somebody over the hump, um, I had a good positive experience. There's an Italian film we have here called The Great Beauty. It's actually one of my favorite films, and it's available on Canopy, which I'll get to soon. It's a pretty lengthy film, and my girlfriend, she kind of was like, "All right, if I'm not interested in the first 10 minutes, you're just not going to get me to sit down and watch a 2.5 hour film."
That's fair.
And yeah, it's fair. And after 20 minutes, she was like, "Well, I want to go to bed, but tomorrow I want to see what happens." And so that's how you kind of get people hooked. Yeah, but some people, especially now with our attention span, people are always picking up their phones when they're kind of tuning out of a film. Things are all over the place. So
Yeah.
that's why I think, introducing to them in 30-minute segments or 1 hour segments, I think that's probably the most productive way to go if you're really trying to ease somebody into indie cinema.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of your picks for classics? Classics that everybody should see before they die while they have. Wait, that's too heavy now that we're in the middle. So, what are some picks that people should see while they're enjoying life here at home?
Sure. Well, classics, I think, I mean, I don't mean to be difficult, but I think people have kind of changed the meaning of the word classic because when we say classics in movies, we think, I don't know, Casablanca, African Queen, Godfather, all valid, all valid. By all means, please indulge those films.
Sure. But those are
But
the
as an
common ones, right?
yeah, yeah, first time me and you ever met, we talked about Hitchcock, Rope, Vertigo, all that.
Oh man. One of my picks for during this shelter in place thing would be Rear Window. I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, we teach that one here at BGSU, especially when we're talking about editing and meaning and the Kuleshov effect and everything like that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think there's a lot of a lot of the quirky stuff people like now. I have a question. Do you remember Napoleon Dynamite?
Sure.
So I think that was a quirky sleep. I guess you could say it was a sleeper hit. I like to look at classics from a more indie perspective. If you remember Sex Lies and Videotape, we talked about Soderbergh. That was his debut feature.
I do remember it.
Yeah.
That was with
Little
Was that
heavy-handed.
Susan Sarandon?
No, no, that wasn't Susan.
Who was the woman in the movie? Well, anyway, it was the guy that I know what it is. And it was a good movie.
Yes, yes, it is a good film. And I rewatched for the first time in a very long time. I got the Criterion copy here. See it. This is Do the Right Thing.
Oh, Spike Lee. Come
Yeah,
on. Heck yeah.
yeah, yeah. I rewatched it the other night, and same thing with my girlfriend. She didn't really had a. She likes the newer Spike Lee stuff, but for some reason she doesn't want to see the older stuff. But as she was watching it, I broke it up into two parts, and by the time the night was over, she was like, "Oh, I really like this film."
Oh,
But
I think that's a must see for Americans, I think.
yes, did you see Black Klansman?
No, I'm afraid of it.
Fair.
Not afraid of it. I'm intimidated by it.
What about it intimidates you?
The title. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm like, that's an interesting thing, and it's probably a conversation with someone else, but I'm not sure what that dynamic is, but it feels like I don't know very much about it. It came out not that long after Django, I think.
It was like a 4 or 5 year window between the two.
Oh, I guess for me, it's that thing where I'm studying American culture studies. I'm up to my neck in race as a concept, as a construct.
Sure.
And I guess I would rather challenge assumptions and play with meanings through Do the Right Thing than something that sounds like it's going to take an aggressive approach that doesn't. I'm not saying it would diminish the film. I think he should do whatever he wants.
Certainly.
But the previews just looked like it was intense.
It's a pretty intense film. So proceed with caution. So
That was very honest. I was giving a very honest account of my thoughts, and I hope I didn't offend anyone.
you had a second question at the end of that first Instagram bit after the how do we get our spouses or whatever to look at what we look at. What was the last question?
Well, we were talking about the classics, and then
Oh yeah, the classics.
yeah. So you only gave us one, I think.
Yeah. So I really I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. Um, for me, a movie that defined a lot of my college days was the first Clerks film.
Oh yeah, Clerks,
Yeah.
sure.
And actually, since I feel like I'm at show and tell, man, I actually just bought before we got iced in here, Jay and Silent Bob reboot. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've already seen it, but it's really good. I
Can,
think,
can I ask a question?
please.
Sorry, actually two questions. One, am I missing the boat here? Do I need to go see Black Klansman?
Yeah, I think you do.
Okay, commitment. I will watch Black Klansman. Two, is the original Clerks for you the Kevin Smith film?
Yeah, it is. Now, actually, no, it's not. For me, it's Clerks 2. And there's a personal reason behind that. That was actually the first Kevin Smith film I ever saw because I remember Clerks 2 was actually heavily marketed. And I didn't know what it was. I grew up, just like any other teenager. I'm easily entertained. I like the raunchy stuff. And I just kind of bought that movie at Best Buy on sale, thinking it was the run of the mill thing. I don't care what Clerks One is. I don't need to see it. And I watched it, and it wasn't really that raunchy of a film, in my opinion. But it was like, I mean, there were these, even though it was a very silly film, there was these very compelling characters, and he addresses, at the time, each Kevin Smith film kind of tells you something else about what's going on in his life. So in that film, it was not about coming of age anymore. It was about becoming an adult. And, who am I going to spend the rest of my life with? What's my purpose here? How do I serve others? And, the first Clerks film is nothing like that. So anyway, it caught my attention. So I went back and watched all the other Kevin Smith films. Yeah.
What about Chasing Amy? I always thought that
I
was
love
good.
Chasing Amy.
That's a good Kevin Smith pick, I
Yeah.
think.
It gets a lot of flack for, I don't know, for some reason, because it's on Criterion Collection and Clerks 1 is not. But I love Chasing Amy, man. And that one is way ahead of its time, I think. Here you got this straight white Catholic dude from New Jersey who loves hockey, and he's kind of toying with sexuality. You're taking
Right.
American culture studies right now.
Well, that's what holds up, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and just because she feels one way about one person, the illicit character, doesn't mean she can't feel this way about someone else. And the character of Holden, played by Ben Affleck, it's clear how he feels about her, but he's so apprehensive to engage with her. One, because she's a lesbian.
Right, I know. It's really an interesting premise.
Yeah, but then when he finds out she's had relationships with other men, he's turned off.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is exactly how those things get sold to us, right? It's there's a weird dynamic there, man. And
Well, and they revisit that storyline in Reboot, just so you know, if you ever make it that far.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm into it. So, what are some other classics? And you define classics as you will. I'm going to throw some of mine in too in a minute. Go ahead.
I love. Maybe it's because I wasn't really as cognitive as some people until I was like 4 years old in 1994. But for me, I'm a '90s kid. I was born in 1990, and I grew up with Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all that. I remember my mom, when she would tuck me in at night, she would always ask me, "Do you want the radio on?" Turn on the radio, and Nirvana's playing or Alanis Morissette's playing, quietly.
How old were you back then?
Yes, I'm very much a product of that, and I don't know. Maybe it's a nostalgia thing.
No,
Maybe
I'm asking a real question. How old were you when Nirvana was happening?
let's see. When did In Utero come out? 94?
94 or 93. 93, late 93. It was almost Christmas, or I think.
Yeah. So I'm 4 years old. 5 years old. I think I'm 5 when Kurt Cobain
passes away. Well, I saw Nirvana. I saw all those bands.
Yeah. You saw them like with Kurt and everything?
I saw Kurt. I was in the front row in the mosh pit watching blood come out the man's mouth. Yeah.
This is a complete detour, but I gotta ask now, what was a live Nirvana show like? Because that's something very few people can answer.
It was of its time, dude. I mean, I hate to be that guy that says it like this, but it was very special, and you had to you didn't have to be there, but in order to get the Nirvana thing, to the impact of it, you almost had to live in the time before, when there was only Winger and Stryper and Poison.
I like that stuff too.
Yeah, but you wouldn't if it was all you had.
Sure.
Because with it now in juxtaposition with what came after, it's okay to have that, because it's like, oh, these ridiculous people. Those were all the people. Like, that's all you had was long-haired women hating. It was rough. So when Nirvana came out, it was like, they're dressed like me, and they're saying cool things, and they stand for cool things, and they're smashing the instruments. And it was like you were kicking down your own private Berlin Wall every day you turned on that record. And then to see it in person exploding in front of you, that was like near the end when I saw him live. So Pat Smear was up there, and it was like, we knew who the Germs were, and Man, it was special. But what does that have to do with film?
So, because I mean, let's be honest, we all have memories of when we're younger, right? But you don't start developing, I guess, more concurrent, you know,
Yeah.
attachment until you're like what, 7, 8, 9, and then from there. So for me, a lot of these films, and the films I want to bring up next are the films by Richard Linklater. So Slacker, Dazed and
Right.
Confused, the Before trilogy. For me, these are classics because I'm kind of rediscovering that time. Now, before we say something like, often when we think nostalgia, right? Like, I love the Rambo films, so nostalgia. A lot of the times, the context people are saying that is, man, the 80s were great. The 80s, you just had to be there. If you remember it, you weren't really there. Like, fine, fair enough. But Linklater is different because, especially in Dazed and Confused, he wanted to make sure this was not a film of look how great the 70s were. Actually, the point of Dazed and Confused is look how boring the 70s were. This was a very boring time. And that's why I connect to films like Clerks, to Sex Lies and Videotape, to the Linklater films. Because it's like, man, like nothing is going on. You know what I mean? It's like that was my 1990s. Nothing was going on.
Well, okay, so if you're going Linklater, can we also go Wes Anderson? Would you go because I think it's a good time to go back to Bottle Rocket.
Yeah, Bottle Rocket's great, but my money is on it's cliche, but Rushmore, and specifically Moonrise Kingdom though. I finally got around to seeing have you seen Grand Budapest Hotel yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was a late bloomer coming around to see that. I just saw it like 2 months ago. Yeah, that one was, I don't know, that unpopular opinion, that might be his best film, but I'm not.
Moonrise was my favorite for just
Yeah,
enjoying.
again, that's a film we show here at BGSU a lot for mise en scène, especially color palettes and everything like that.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's go. Do you have more from that era, or can we go older?
we can go older.
Go way back, dude. Like, say somebody's like, man, I've got holes in my movie viewing game that are in the era. Like everybody already knows Rear Window, Vertigo from Hitchcock. You mentioned Rope. That's more of one that a lot of people miss. That's one of the best Hitchcocks. Notorious would be a great Hitchcock. What else?
Well,
What are some classics that There's classics everyone's seen, and then there's classics that are otherwise.
so I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in. No, I'm not sponsored by them. If you're a student or you work for a university, you can get this account for free. And even if it's not free, it's quite inexpensive. I don't know, but there's a great website called Canopy.
That's with a K.
Yes, with a K. So since you're a student, you can get it for free. And um, it's hard to really tell what their criteria is. A lot of Criterion flicks, a lot of art house documentaries, educational stuff. Chances are, if you're taking a class on race or culture or history, chances are the teacher is telling you to look this film up on Canopy since you're a student. My favorite film that's not Return of the Jedi. I know we talked a lot about
That's
it.
your favorite.
My favorite.
It's crazy when there's an Empire Strikes Back, but go ahead.
Yes. Is Solaris by Andrei Tarkovsky. Now, when we think about early science fiction or space films from the 70s, we automatically think Star Wars or late 60s, early 70s, Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. Great, fine, fair enough. But there was a film at that time that was so underappreciated here in the States that's gained a lot more traction. It's called Solaris by Andrei Tarkovsky. And it was released in 1972. And a lot of people felt it was the Soviet Union's response to Kubrick. Um, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't really care.
Okay.
But it's quite a spiritual film. Tarkovsky had a bit of a reputation because he used a lot of Christian imagery and spirituality and referring to metaphysics. And, the Soviet Union, where maybe religion is not such a good idea to talk about.
Well, the Russian filmmakers were good at that, right? Like every film had an agenda.
Yeah, well, the second kind of the second gen, filmmakers like Tarkovsky. The first film school ever, if I'm not mistaken, was in Moscow. It's still around to this day. It was a state sponsored school, and they essentially made propaganda films. Now, the great thing that came out of that was a lot of their techniques were picked up by American filmmakers like Hitchcock. especially editing. They kind of really pushed the envelope and reinnovated the idea of editing, what it is, how it does it convey meaning. I don't know what it is about Solaris. I think it's just a beautiful film. It's quite long. I think it's a little shy of 3 hours, but it's just a beautiful film about what grief is, what grief and regret will do to us, but also that there is hope,
Okay.
that we don't have to be stuck there.
Hope is good.
Yes, hope is good.
When you say 60s and 70s science fiction, if somebody wants a long, slow burn of a streaming epic journey, you gotta go the original Planet of the Apes
Yeah,
from.
we were just talking about that the other
We
day.
were talking about it the other day. That will take up plenty of time, and for me, I think that might be my mountaintop for science fiction.
Yeah, I think I may have told you this the other day, but this is kind of well timed because my buddy was at a museum some time ago, and he actually sent me at the museum. He was standing next to a costume from the original Planet of the Apes films. It was just like one of the foot soldier apes or whatever. But still,
Hey
you know,
man, you go to the grocery store these days, you need a mask. How about Dr. Zayas?
yeah.
How about Dr. Zayas
I
walking down that
I
fruit
love the
section?
first one. I love the first one. Really, maybe some people would say it hasn't aged well aesthetically speaking. I don't care,
Oh
but
no,
I
it's
think it's
perfectly.
I do think for its time, it was quite a masterpiece, science fiction, I love Conquest, though. For some reason, I don't know, man, maybe it's more schlocky, but the battle scenes are just crazy. And you've got like a 30-minute just these apes taking over a city and using machine guns, and it's very silly to look at, but I think it's the most entertaining of that
And
franchise.
I'm primarily a music guy. The soundtrack for Planet of the Apes is just
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. I mean, that is a special sounding thing.
It's also interesting commentary too on how humans behave. So often we think about, look at this ape, look at this chimpanzee stacking blocks on top of one another to get the banana, and you're thinking, well, my toddler can do that. But you see movies like the Planet of the Apes films where we're not the dominant species, we're not at the top of the food chain anymore, so to speak. And there's a scene, I don't remember which one it was from, but our main human protagonist comes into the lab where the scientist apes are working. And he says, "I'm so hungry I could eat a horse." And then like the female ape goes, "A horse, my lord!" And then like the scientists are trying to explain, no, this is like exaggeration on their part. It's not real,
It's
So I've always thought they were interesting commentary on the human daily happenings.
definitely.
Yeah.
I hope we're not moving. We're both probably pretty moving quick through these topics, but I have another one for you. Another question that's from me. You're one of your major interests is horror films,
Mhm.
and I've got a few. Let me throw some at you, and you tell me your opinion as a critic. Love it or leave it. We've I can't remember if I asked you before about the Hammer films. I love bad ones. You know the Hammer films?
Oh, another hand. Yeah. So Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee come to mind. So I
Yes.
was talking to this is just a side note because of Star Wars. I never put this together, but uh, golly, how many I can't remember off the top of my head how many Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, Dracula versus Van Helsing films there were, Hammer
Right.
ones. But did you notice when they did Attack of the Clones, Christopher Lee, his Sith name is Darth Tyrannus, but they refer to him, he's Count Dooku. He wears all black and he wears a cape.
Yeah. No, I didn't put that together, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Let me tell you my favorite Hammer film,
Okay.
Rasputin the Mad Monk. It's the
I,
best. And they don't say the you could probably YouTube the trailer for it, and it's so good because they don't just ever say Rasputin the Mad Monk. They say Rasputin the Mad Monk.
yeah.
That's like this huge wind up, and he's basically hypnotizing all these women to do his bidding, and it's just so stupid, man. It's so stupid.
For me, I know it's kind of cliche, but it's any of the Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, any of those. I could watch those all day long, out of order, in order. whatever. They're just so fun. The first one's probably the best.
Yeah, and Christopher
Well,
Lee's a good Dracula, man.
he's a great Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very much missed, but yeah, I love it. I love it.
All right. What about now it's your turn. Hit me with a horror pick for people.
All right. Can we you said Hammer Films, so we can just say franchises, right? It doesn't have to be one film.
Yeah, I mean I did say Rasputin, but yes,
Okay.
you can do this any way you like. Make the rules.
Okay. How about this? Uh, Again, kind of cliche, but I've got a personal love for it.
Right?
The Halloween franchise.
Okay. Where do you start? Do you start at the original first one?
Yeah, well, let's start at the original first one.
What? Oh, start there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So can I throw one? Let's go back and forth. This is fun. So the very best Friday the 13th film is number 3.
Hmm.
He dons the mask. It's a
Uh,
3D film, but even if you watch it in 2D, you get a lot of this, like stuff pointing, and
sure.
it's really fun.
I can't remember if it's 2 or 3. Which one is the guy with the wheelchair? He's wearing the football jersey. That's 4? Is that 4? All right, so Eli Roth was originally gonna name his production company, I think, like, Steve Number 83 or something like that, because that guy had, like, the Steve 83, and the logo was gonna be the guy sitting in the wheelchair with that axe or whatever, but he decided against that. For me, it's Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives.
Is that the one where the boat runs him over in the water?
No, I think that's Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan.
No. That's the I lost interest by number 8.
Well, Alice Cooper did the soundtrack for Part 6.
Okay.
And that one's just, I don't know what it is. That one's just the most fun, but I love that with the soundtrack. Yeah, it's a good
All right.
combination.
Okay. I got a good one for you. Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, Pumpkinhead, I love. Pumpkin Wing 2, Blood Wings, I can leave.
No.
That was a labor to watch. I don't know. It was just a boring film.
You got one Pumpkinhead. That's it. There's no more Pumpkinheads.
Yeah, there's been some rumors of a remake, but
No.
I don't believe it when I
You
see it.
just need the one. And why did look? This is a segue, or I mean a sidetrack, and then we'll come back. Why do they keep remaking the good ones? Every time they have a classic movie, I'll do it again. No, get one of those bad ones and make it. Okay. Well, give me another one.
I don't know, probably because the name has market value at this point.
I know everything's yeah.
So, all right, I'm gonna throw one at you now, right? Um, Goodness, I could talk about horror movies. Are you a Japanese horror guy? What about Ringu or
No,
The Ring? I'll take the American remake.
no, I haven't seen it.
I'm in the minority because I argue the American version with Naomi Watts is better. And I know people want to like cut my head off when I say that, but I don't know, man. They're the same story, but the American version's better.
I'm sorry. Did you say The Ring?
Yeah, The
Yeah,
Ring.
I saw the American one. I didn't see the Japanese one.
Okay, it's the same story, almost shot for shot.
I didn't care about it very much, to be honest. It was good, but
Yeah.
okay, I got one. Going back, fans of Lord of the Rings and such might be shocked if they see Peter Jackson's Bad Taste.
I've actually never seen Bad Taste.
It's a have to see.
Okay.
If you like disgusting gore.
Yeah. You know, so last night I watched City of the Living Dead, um,
Okay.
which it's actually not like of the dead, like George A. Romero, none of that. I don't know if you have any interest in Italian 70s exploitation horror films.
I didn't
Those
know.
those had a reputation for being super gross. The grosser the better with those films. And I don't know, man. I'm just a real sucker, man. Suspiria and all that. Have you seen Suspiria?
I don't know what that is. It's Italian?
Yeah, and
Never
they did
seen
the
any
American
Italian
remake.
horror. But they're dropping the ball if they don't start calling those spaghetti sauce westerns. That's what they should start calling it. An Italian horror film should be
Oh,
that.
because of the blood.
Yes.
I really recommend to use Suspiria. It's dubbed, so you don't have to read it or anything like that. That's another thing. I actually forgot to address that earlier. People who don't want to quote read a film because of subtitles, but it's just like Bong Joon Ho when he accepted the Academy Award for Parasite. His quote was, "If you learn to get over that obstacle of subtitles, you're going to open yourself to a whole new world of great films."
Yeah, that's a good. So, can I give you my favorite? But I don't have very many of these, but a favorite foreign film that will have subtitles. The original is it might be South Korean, I forget, or Japanese. Shall We Dance? That is an excellent foreign film to watch with
Okay.
your significant other.
Okay. I have yet to see that one. Shall We Dance?
Yeah, but there's an American one. Forget about that one. You want the other one.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like Solaris. There was a 2002 remake with George Clooney. You don't have to see that one. You just got to
Yeah,
see.
no, the original one. So, okay, is that enough horror movies? Should we do a different genre, or you have more? You have more. I can see
I
that.
could talk about horror movies all day. Let's do two more. Let's see back and forth. Who ended it?
Well, why don't you just give me two more? Because I know you have plenty.
More recent, maybe for some people it's overhyped. I really enjoyed The Conjuring.
All right,
Um,
that's in the
and
same realm as The Ring for me. I just don't really care that much.
didn't care
But I mean, it's a fair. You can love it.
by all means. Um, I think that people often ask where did the slasher genre come from, and a lot of people will point to Peeping Tom, which is a '60s film, and that one's a bit of a slow burn compared to what we're used to now.
Right.
It's quite much more methodological in its approach, but I'd really recommend Peeping Tom. It's a British film, slasher film.
Hmm. All right. One more.
One more, goodness. Yeah, Vampire from the early 1930s. I think that's 1932. It's a silent film. Um, for the most part, it's silent. You really got to see that one to believe it. So I'd really recommend that one. I actually just bought the Blu-ray of that one, so I'm gonna be cracking into that probably later.
All right. Uh, let's now graduate from genre, and we're just gonna riff and throw out some good flicks that are lesser known. And you can. I'm gonna let you do the commentating,
Okay.
but I'm gonna name some just to keep the inspirations going.
Yeah.
Okay. My favorite Coen Brothers film, Miller's Crossing.
Yeah. Leave it. It's not that I just not. It's not that it's a bad film, but it's like how I feel about their first film. Have you seen Blood Simple?
Love it.
I like Blood Simple. I don't love Blood Simple. It's very much their earlier work. It's like they're still obviously trying to find their footing, which is fine. It's good to see growing pains.
I agree with that. I
Yeah,
mean, I love it, and I agree with that.
yeah. And then I don't know. The film that kind of changes the pace for me though was Barton Fink.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting, because that one's tied to Miller's Crossing.
yeah, yeah. Right. Yeah, it is. So I don't know, but that one just I don't know. There's something about it. The John Goodman's performance in that movie, where he's just like the
He's
crazy.
unstoppable in that movie.
Yeah, and then I don't know. It's like they a lot of people love Fargo, and I like Fargo too. But they get like a total new fandom with Oh Brother Where Art Thou, right? They got like a new fandom with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. Maybe
Give me. I
soundtrack.
mean, you even have a pile of them there. You were gonna tell us about. So feel free to get into that if you like.
Yeah, we talked about Black Klansman and everything. This one's on Hulu or it was on Hulu, at least for people who have Hulu. Sorry to bother you. Have you seen that one yet?
No.
Yeah, this is Boots Riley. We talked a little extensively about Spike Lee. They're kind of like mortal enemies.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, because Boots Riley doesn't really think that Spike Lee's going hard enough on the issues. So
Man, I'm sitting. I gotta tell you, the whole time we've been talking, I'm sitting here haunted by what I said about Black Klansman. I'm realizing I have to go see it, and I'm just like I'm like, man, why am I resistant to Black Klansman? I'm having a whole thing over
yeah, well, you said it's kind of scary. It is kind of scary, especially like the last scene of the film. I mean, it's he's definitely commenting. He uses this story that happened a long time ago, to comment on what's happening now. I won't say anything more.
Oh, it sounds heavy. Okay, I'll nowhere near what people actually had to endure, so I can endure the film. Okay. Um, what else?
Yeah, this was on Hulu. I don't know if it still is, but Ingrid Goes West with Aubrey Plaza and O'Shea Jackson Jr. Um,
I don't know
this,
that one at all.
yeah, this was distributed by a group called Neon, and pretty much anything Neon green lights or puts their hands on, I'm down with. So yeah, I think this is great. I actually have a fond memory of this. Me and my girlfriend saw this in an empty theater. There was nobody around,
That's
and
fine.
yeah, it was fun. It was like 10:30 at night, and it was like the only showing. But yeah, this is it's kind of a it's a black comedy. It's a dark comedy. Well lit. It's one of those films that's got a lot of the vibe is like happy, even though what they're talking about is very dark and depressing in its nature.
It's a weird thing when you have a memory of how you saw a movie. Like
Yeah,
the Marvel movie Guardians of the Galaxy.
yeah.
So I had two funny experiences around that. I saw it with my friend Flo in Sweden. We were working in Sweden and in this little town in Sweden, this little shipping town. And we went to this theater, and they do cinema very differently there than we do here. So you pay for a seat, and you have a very specific seat, and you have to be in it. And it is like assigned somewhere, like the thing is empty, but you have to sit in your seat, and they look. And then it was dubbed. Uh, I was in Sweden, and it was like it had English subtitles, but they were speaking Swedish or something. It was so weird. And then I was trying to tell someone that on a movie forum, and they got so angry because they're from Sweden, and they were really, really angry, telling me it never happened. They're like, we don't overdub voices, we don't do any of that. And I'm like, well, I'm saying it was subtitled English. We don't do that. If it's a movie in English, you're seeing it in English. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know what English sounds like, and I was there. But anyway, it was a whole thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. By the way, when you go to another movie country and watch a film, Sweden, Germany, whatever, and there are people whose whole careers is they trace the the projects done by, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Eddie Murphy, Chris Pratt, and what they do is that's how they get their gigs.
Yeah,
They do the dubbing for like Chris Pratt
sure.
or Robbie Plaza or whatever.
That's so great. What a great job.
Yeah, what a great job. It's like, hey, oh wow, Chris Pratt just signed on for 4 more Guardians movies. Well, yeah, so have I.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
What else?
Um, well, have you seen your music guy Blinded by the Light?
No.
Yeah, this is really good. Um, for people who this is a technically a British film,
Okay.
and, but this is from an Indian director, and it's about a Pakistani British citizen growing up in the 1980s who discovers the music of Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, I want to see this.
Yeah.
This is the one where they showed the trailer at yesterday. When I saw the movie
Yeah,
yesterday,
yeah. I did a double feature of this and yesterday.
I want to see that. I would
Yeah,
love to see that.
it's good. It's a really good, and it's a true story. It's highly fictionalized, and but it's great. I've seen it several times now, and a lot of people. Look, I don't feel the need to address a lot of criticism when it comes to films. I think if it's like a food critic, if you don't like it, spit it out. But a lot of people felt this movie was hero worship about Bruce Springsteen. But if you watch it, it's not about Bruce Springsteen at all. It's not even about his music, as heavily featured as it is.
I'm,
About how
I'm
Bruce
under the.
Springsteen
I
felt
haven't
something.
seen it. I haven't seen it, but I'm under the impression that it's more like they just chose a star to be. It's almost like you could have. I haven't seen it, but it
Yeah.
sounds like they could have made it about any.
Well, it's based off a book, a guy who wrote it, because this really happened, and he did discover Bruce Springsteen, became like a super fan. but it played with his identity too, right? Because he came from a traditional Pakistani family. They were
Yeah.
not really understanding of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. What else you got?
The last one that I got is also another favorite. I try to do more recent stuff, throw in some classics too. Is Uncut Gems. Have you seen that one yet, Tony? With
Man,
Adam?
people keep telling me to see it. That's with Adam Sandler.
Oh yeah.
They say it was robbed at the Grammys or the Oscars, rather.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, this is not like a popular opinion. When I say I don't care about the Oscars, I still watch it. Kinda. Like, I went to an Oscar party and watched like my first Oscar show in its entirety for like 10 years. But I don't think that should be reflective of a film's worth by any means. I mean, hey, look, man, Eddie Murphy's Norbit won an Oscar for best makeup. All right. So I mean,
Well, the makeup artist probably deserves
sure.
it,
I'm
right?
not I'm not detracting from their hard work. I'm just saying like
Orbit.
Oscar-winning movie Norbit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. No thanks.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, but it also cleaned up at like the indie awards.
That's weird.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, but Uncut Gems, I mean, the thing about indie films and art house stuff, a lot of people don't always like this is not like a spoiler to the film. They don't always like how it reflects reality or someone they know,
Right.
dealing with something kind of depressing.
Okay.
But I mean, a lot of these directors, they're coming from always watching the traditional rom-com. And they're just like, yeah, but they watch a rom-com film or something like that, and they say, yeah, but love is more complex than that, and
Well,
that
it is,
basically,
sure.
yeah. So, also one thing people need to keep in mind when they're watching a lot of indie films or art house stuff, these are films that are more interested in asking questions than they are giving.
That's a good way to look at that. So, like, that could go back to what you were saying before about how to get somebody interested. Is saying, like, don't think about it like you're getting easy information. Think of it like you're getting hard questions.
Yeah. So a great indie film which was poorly marketed, and I'll explain why. If anyone's interested. Have you seen It Comes at Night? Joel Egerton.
No, no.
Yeah, that's a horror film from I think 2013 or 2014. Um, but I thought it was phenomenal as a horror film, but it was marketed like it was your typical, like, I guess, zombie flick.
Okay.
And people see it and they see this pretty much this art house thing on the big screen. And they're like, what is this? I don't like this. And it just leaves a bunch of open questions. And I was in a theater and I loved it, but I saw it in a packed house and people started booing when it was over. But it's still a horror film, and like that's what people are saying. Not scary. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't scare you. But the idea is the questions that it asks. That's the horror.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, oh, what about for some? Can we do a couple animated things that parents can share with their kids right now that are fun?
Sure. I guess we're going up the Disney Plus route or the Netflix
Maybe I've got a couple picks that aren't that, but go ahead.
route. Okay. I try to avoid films talking about too much about morbidity, but I love Coco, man. Like, I can just watch Coco and feel good after Coco.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Pixar is fantastic. Coco and Up are my picks.
I've actually never seen Up. Everyone always yells at me like, "Dude, you have to see Up."
To me, that's the best Pixar of all time, and my opinion. And then everybody goes to, was it Inside Out that had the one about the feelings, and I
Yeah,
like that was an extreme disappointment. Like I think Up was amazing, and I think Coco's amazing.
I love The Incredibles. Like me and my girlfriend, and Incredibles 2, and Incredibles 2. I thought Incredibles 2 was a very good sequel.
Let me tell you this: when I was out in California, I was at this little like traditional Appalachian music jam, and the director of Coco, one of the co-directors, I can't remember his name now because I don't like know him, but he was there. he was playing. He plays guitar, and he had his guitar custom painted to be the one from Coco, from his own movie. He's the guy when they accept the Academy Award. He's the guy up there.
That's wonderful. That's an amazing story. I love stuff like that, man. I've met some great directors and some actors and everything. Um, a few months ago, I met Dave Bautista. You mentioned Guardians.
He's,
Yeah,
I was shocked at how good he was in that. He's funny.
he is funny, and he's a super nice dude, super nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, we talked martial arts, we talked jujitsu, and everything. I mean, it's always, I know this is like common sense for a lot of people, but it's always very humbling when you meet an actor, your favorite musician or whatever, and you realize they're people too. But the freedom in that is that's when you can start connecting with them,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Um, okay, so I've got a couple picks that are specific for dads of my age.
Okay.
So dads, yo dads, if you're around 40-ish, um, if you can stream it somewhere, the original Transformers the movie
From like 86.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, the one that's like it's got the song "You've Got the Touch, You've
Yeah.
Got the Power." That is a great
That's a,
movie.
that's a
That
great
is a
movie.
great animated film, and you can introduce your kids to Transformers, give them something to watch that you won't vomit on because you grew up with it too, and that's fine. Also, the original G.I. Joe has been re-released. The original cartoon series,
Oh wow.
the one where they have the thing at the end. Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. Come on.
Yeah.
And if you can find it, there was a G.I. Joe the movie that was meant, I think it was like in reaction to the Transformers movie, and it's not bad.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw the G.I. Joe film, but I remember growing up with the original Transformers film and liking that a lot.
Well, that
So
one's actually got a little bit of quality to it. Now, let's say it's not your, anything. The classic Disney movies are just so good. I love them so much. I mean, and then here's one for your older kids: Watership Down.
yeah, Watership Down. I can't really comment on that. I don't really have much memory of it. I don't know why. So sometimes when I see so many films, like, I think one or two get pushed out.
You had a thought. You were getting ready to say something, and I cut you off.
Yeah. Let's see. We talked about what was the previous film we just talked about? Was the GI Joe movie?
G.I. Joe, Transformers,
Yeah, it's escaped me.
Disney, Pixar.
Yeah, it's okay. It'll probably come back.
All right, let's go here. Martial arts. Let's you and me go back and forth. What's the best martial arts movie from the 70s?
Oh my gosh. All right. I was about to jump.
I know. Let's go decade by decade. 70s?
Oh my gosh.
It's an easy answer.
Is it Dragon? Is it Enter?
Yeah, it's Dragon. Come on.
John Saxon, Jim Kelly. It's a great cast.
Dude, it's so good. It's a great movie. It's a great spy movie.
It is a great spy
It's a
movie.
James Bond movie with kung fu and jujitsu, and it's amazing.
I saw that a million times. Yeah. So I've got like the anniversary of that somewhere in this house. Yeah. So, but
Funny story, the punk rock legend Ian MacKaye gave me a copy of Fists of Fury on VHS. He was like, I think you would like this. And I'm like,
you
of
have it.
course I like that.
You still have it in your house?
Yeah.
That'd probably be up on a pedestal for me. I've got all the Bruce Lee films. You know what's interesting from that era is the Bruce Lee exploitation. Do you remember that? Like after Bruce Lee died, they were looking for
Yeah.
like the next Bruce Lee, and they
Yeah.
had these movies. It was like Bruce Lee, but it was spelled
Right. Yes. Yep.
Lee L-E. And then they started making these films. So you remember Game of Death, right?
Of course. He's
Which,
only in one scene.
yeah, I don't think that's the. I know the final product was not good. His original draft of the film sounded really good. I'll say that. But there's a Game of Death 2, little known fact. And it's actually probably more entertaining than the final product of Game of Death 1. I mean, you got a guy kung fu and a lion.
Yeah.
Can't get better than that. But in that, they kill off Bruce Lee's character from the first Game of Death. And when they kill him off, they use footage from Bruce Lee's actual funeral.
Oh, that's so wrong. That's so dirty.
No, man.
All right, now we're ready for you. Give me the 80s.
It was just uploaded onto YouTube that you can watch for free, and it is called Bloodsport.
Okay, good. I'm glad you went there because I was torn. Bloodsport is. I wish it came out in 1990. Then it would be my 90s pick. But I don't know when it came out, honestly. So then, in that case, I'm gonna say Karate Kid is the best martial arts movie from the 80s.
You watch Cobra Kai?
Yeah, loved it.
Oh man, Cobra Kai is great. Yeah. No, I've watched all the Karate Kid films. I know people don't like the one with Hillary Clinton a lot, but
Wait, Hillary Clinton.
that was that was the fifth Karate Kid film. Sorry, Hillary Swank.
Hey man, hey, I'm with her. You know what I mean? Hey, don't.
What do you think of the sequels, Tony? I actually like 2 and 3.
I like 2, not 3 so much.
Why not 3?
3, I need Daniel LaRusso. That's why.
I think, man, I think that final scene in Karate Kid 3, that final fight, I think that's a really powerful scene. With him and Miyagi on the court, and he's just like, Miyagi, Mr. Miyagi, I can't do it. And then Miyagi's telling him, like, the karate's inside you. It's time to let it out and everything. I think that's a powerful scene, man.
Yeah, you know what? That's pretty fair. It's good, but it's not. There could be some nostalgic bias here. Yeah. Okay.
There's a rumor, just before we move on, there's a rumor that Terry Silver, remember, who's the bad guy,
Yeah.
will be in the next season of Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. We need to bring those people back while we still have them.
Yeah.
All right. So 90s is tough, man. I'm not even sure where I'm going to go in the 90s.
There's better films out there, no doubt. But for me, again, nostalgic factor growing up, the Mortal Kombat film, I thought that was a super fun movie.
Okay, fair. So I've got a pick from the 90s that is, I want to be very clear so as to not incriminate myself, but the best movie because it's awful. Like, you ever watch a movie because it's so bad that you just laugh at everything? Seagal, Out for Justice.
Yes, Out for Justice. No, dude, Out for Justice is people only talk about Hard to Kill and Above the Law, but I like the two that I think are just as good as those, like, story wise.
Yeah.
Out for Justice and Marked for Death.
Okay, so check it out. Marked for Death is a better movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Out for Justice is just fun because there's no plot other than Steven Seagal going into a variety of rooms saying, "Anybody seen Richie? Anybody know why Richie did Bobby Lupo?" And then he beats the crap out of everyone in the room with sausages. He's picking up cucumbers and stabbing people with, and then, look, this is a spoiler alert, y'all. But if you're watching this movie, you're not watching it because there's going to be some unfolding at the end, okay? There's no character development whatsoever. But he goes around, he beats up everybody on Earth looking for Richie, and then he finds Richie, and Richie doesn't even have a chance in the fight. He just beats I don't think Steven Seagal gets hit in the movie. I think he just beats up like 300 people with bread. He beats them up with food on the regular.
Yeah. All right. So I got to ask you, Van Damme or Seagal?
Make a whole question out of that, because there's a few different ways I can take it.
All right. I'll do a two-parter.
Good.
Who had the better movies? Who's a better martial artist?
Bloodsport beats the entire Seagal catalog.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
it beats,
especially after he does On Deadly Ground. It's like, that's it.
All you have to do is do one Bloodsport.
Yeah.
I will say that Under Siege is a very entertaining movie.
Yeah.
but I don't think of it as a martial arts movie.
No, it's not.
It's a heist movie.
Yeah.
You're done up in a different attire.
I
Now,
watched Bloodsport so many times growing up.
it's a big question what you have. Who's the better martial artist? That requires us to examine what constitutes a quality martial artist, because in terms of depth of study, believe it or not, Steven Seagal is a real honest to God expert at Aikido.
No doubt.
He's a real honest to God authority of that art. That said, it's if you're measuring it by who's got like skills for fighting, Van Damme's karate championship and physical abilities, if they had a fight, Van Damme would tear him up.
No doubt.
Even now, like with them both aged or whatever, Seagal has studied more and knows more about an ancient culture and martial art, but Van Damme could kick him from here to eternity before Steven Seagal can pick up a bagel and hurt him.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but I will say that Steven Seagal is the better guitar player.
Oh gosh, yeah. Most people don't believe me when I tell them he has an album out.
And he's a cop.
Yeah, yeah, he's a cop. But man, I know we're past the '80s question, but there's an honorable mention I'd like to just throw in there for best martial arts film.
A lot of honorables. Go ahead.
Chuck Norris, I think it's 1983, Silent Rage.
Great.
You seen it?
Fantastic.
The guy's just like invincible.
That's how Norris does it. That's the prototype for Walker.
Yeah, yeah.
When it comes to the invincibility.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people like Delta Force and all that. Missing in Action, great. Not really martial arts films, but great. But man, let me tell you, like Silent Rage, it's a horror movie essentially.
It's great.
It's a slasher film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think Chuck Norris is funny, you got to do that one.
Yeah.
Did you pick from the? Wait, did we do the night? Wait, I'm confused.
We did 90s. I did the first Mortal Kombat film.
And I did Out for Justice.
Yeah.
Do we want to go into the 2000s, or is martial arts just action at that point?
No, I think that's great. By the 2000s, I don't know. A lot of people, the default for them is Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. I don't know what my pick is.
It is a masterpiece, man. Like people love it or hate it, man. It's hard to knock that film.
I don't know what my pick is from the 2000s, to be honest. Oh, did Jackie Chan do anything in the 2000s? Because he had some the stunt work and stuff like that is pretty great.
Yeah, he did a lot of that. I think Legend of the Drunken Master was 2001, and a friend just showed that to me like a few months ago. Not to be confused from the Drunken Master film from the 70s, not that one, but not related at all. But that one's really good. I'd really recommend that.
All right, and then more recently, I think the best martial arts stuff that I've enjoyed was actually in the Netflix series Daredevil. That choreography was outrageous.
Oh, yeah. I only saw the first episode, but yeah, that's what I heard. Everybody tells me, man, you'd love the fun. Oh, you know what? We're forgetting from the 2000s. What about the Tony Jaa films? Ong Bak, The Protector.
Oh yeah, those.
Yeah,
good.
We missed that. So someone listening to this is going to be yelling at us that we forgot.
Oh, they're going to be so pissed. We'll have to do a part 2.
But what about the Ip Man movies? You mentioned 2000s and 2010s. The Ip Man movies, Johnny Yen. 1 and 2 were good. I don't know if you saw 3. It was okay. It was fine. I haven't seen 4 yet.
I don't even remember if I saw them. Sometimes they blur together as I get older. There's so many that are kind of like from a certain time. The ones you see when you're a kid, they really sink in deep, I don't know. I watched Kickboxer the other day. That did not hold up well.
Man, I love Kickboxer.
Oh, I love it. But I wouldn't love it if it was like the first time I saw it.
I actually just watched the newest one on Netflix, Retaliation.
Yeah.
It's a different canon. But yeah, those are somehow worse. Like I still like them. I still watch them. They're dumb, but those are somehow worse than the original ones.
Yeah. All right. What else we want to talk about before we wrap up?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of looking like a movieless summer, my friend. I don't want to end on a downer. All right, but it's not looking I know our summer blockbusters. People often complain, like, "Man, there are no good summer blockbusters coming out this summer." It's like, well, we can do you one better. None.
Well, yeah, we don't just not have a summer blockbuster, buddy. We don't have a summer, so it all evens out.
But before we go, like, I kind of want to get your thoughts because I know we've talked about it when we were like training together. But where are you now with the new Star Wars trilogy?
Oh, geez, you want to? You think we're going to end, and you open up a can of that? I'm still on. There are 3 Star Wars movies. I tried to go back to the prequels
Mhm.
because as you know, as I've mentioned before, my assertion is that they were better than we remember. I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't enjoy. I tried to do the Phantom Menace, and I couldn't get through it. I was like, this is making me angry, and I turned it off. Um, I liked the new ones, the newest ones, just fine as love letters to the originals, but not really part of my world. I don't really give a poop about it. And then um, I disliked with a strong aftertaste the last chapter of it. I did not enjoy that movie.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at.
Yep.
And you have a take, so give it to us, and then we'll wrap up.
Man, I listen to Mark Hamill's advice
Oh,
when,
Jesus.
when he was when he was promoting Last Jedi. When Mark Hamill said, "We're not trying to recapture the original
Hey,
trilogy."
mission accomplished, dude.
Yeah, I hear you. Um, that being said, look, I actually argue there's not a bad Star Wars film. Now, I'm in the minority saying that. I even appreciate the Phantom Menace. It's got some parts I don't care for, like young Anakin and Jar Jar Binks.
It has its
But
wins. It's got the best lightsaber duel.
it's dope, man. It doesn't get much more dope than that. Um, and the soundtrack, stellar. And I like the relationship between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. I think it's good. Same for Attack of the Clones and love Revenge of the Sith. But I felt this way about the new series. It's like there's definitely some stuff I don't think they should have done, or it's not the way I would have done it, rather.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, they ended it, I think, on the best note they could have. Um, Especially given what happened between Jedi and Rise of Skywalker with Carrie Fisher dying. I think they were in a tough position.
Yeah.
They did what they could. And I can accept it. I can accept that my favorite character, Luke Skywalker, passed on. He died selflessly, so I'm happy with that. Rise felt a little rushed, and there was some pacing issues. But I saw it as we talked about, earlier between difference between art films, salad, and Michael Bay's like steak and potatoes and all that. And it was like this was a big ice cream sundae. And I was like, here you go, happy birthday. That's what they were saying, and it was like, hey man, cool. It's not what I wanted to eat, but I like ice cream sundaes, so I'll take
Yeah, man. They went full soft serve, I think.
it. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me on here.
Oh, man, it was great. Is there anything that you've written or anything like that that you want to pitch, or are you just so busy in schoolwork that you haven't?
Yeah, I'm pretty drowning. Well, there's a paper for any academic geeks out there. People like wrestling that I'm about to submit when this COVID-19 thing dies down. It's pretty much on cinematography and Hulk Hogan's opponents. And
Wow.
yeah, it's a lot going on there. But pro wrestling in the late 1980s, how did America view itself? How did we see ideology performed in 1980s professional wrestling?
Yeah.
So I'll submit that soon. Can't guarantee it'll be put out there, but here's to hoping.
Good luck. If
Thank you.
anybody's actually watching this video, hit like and subscribe. This has been the Lowdown with Tony Lowe, and today, the Lowdown on movies during a pandemic with Nick Canada.
Thank you very much.
I'm turning off the record button, Nick, if I can.